Welcome to All Nature Connected, a podcast created by the Forest Bathing Institute, where we explore all nature connected topics, including nature and health, nature inspired lifestyle, nature connection and forest bathing, nature preservation, and eco awareness. We hope that this podcast will inspire you to become more connected with nature and your own health and well-being. Hello everyone, this is Olga from the Forest Bathing Institute, and today we have a special guest on our podcast, Gayle Berry. And Gayle Berry is the founder of Blossom and Berry, the world's leader parent and baby well-being training company. In COVID, she founded 3 Babies, which is a unique wild well-being courses offering parents and babies the opportunity to gather in nature and practice presence, mindfulness, and connection to their babies and the community. In the last 3 years, the community has expanded to have over 300 teachers holding space for parents, carers, and babies. Gayle is on a mission to reconnect babies back to nature, which is, of course, a very interesting topic for us since we're working with nature and showing the health and well-being benefits of nature. So, Gayle, such a pleasure to have you today on our podcast. So I thought we would just concentrate on a few questions, learning a little bit more about how you came to create Blossom and Berry, because I found your story very touching and very profound. So maybe if you can just start by saying how it came around, maybe what challenges you had, what led you into looking more into nature and health and well-being for babies.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for having me on the podcast. It's a great honor to be here. So thank you. So Blossom and Berry, I started it about 20 years ago. I began life as a project finance lawyer, actually working in the city, very, very far from nature, in a very masculine environment. And I never really felt like I fitted in. And my soul was sort of dying slowly. And so I went away on a sabbatical to South America. And on that trip, I became pregnant unexpectedly with my daughter. I was only 26 at the time. And so it wasn't what I'd planned, because I'd spent 7 years training to be a lawyer in the city, but it was the greatest thing that has ever happened to me in my life. And when Emily came into my life, I realised the importance of being present with babies, with my daughter, and I wanted to create a beautiful life with her. And for me, the most important thing was going to be time. Investing time and being present and, witnessing her and being there for her. And so I left the law, set up my own local practice, teaching baby massage and baby yoga. And over the years, it's developed into Blossom and Berry, which, as you said, is the world's leading parent and baby wellness teacher training company now in the world. We have over 2,000 teachers, 5 international branches, numerous charitable projects as well. And at this point now, one of the main focuses alongside infant mental health, which is really kind of the foundation, that and love, the importance of love and connection is really what's at the heart of Blossom and Berry, is very much moving into nature and helping babies to know that they are nature, they are not separate from nature, that they are the guardians of nature. The future of nature and the earth is in the hands of, babies that are coming into the world today. And so where I feel there's been some separateness that has been created in the last, probably 100 years, particularly probably 150 years really, between us and nature, and believing that we are separate. Now, I think with climate change and all the things that are going on, we must, connect babies to nature so they know what this very, very important relationship is.
That's beautiful. And I think I so agree with you regarding, the relationship between the babies and nature, because I think we talked a bit on our podcast already with some experts about the problem in us separating from nature. And of course, if parents are separated from nature, it's likely that the kids will be separated from nature. And then, as you said, Gayle, that they are the future, and where are we heading is really in the little hands of those babies. Our future is there. So it's such a beautiful thing that you've created, and the theory behind the thinking behind, I think it makes so much sense. And do you know if there are some scientifically proven benefits, or maybe from your expertise, some benefits of reconnecting to nature that parents might see when, if some say skeptical parents go there just for the benefit of, maybe calming down the children or their own benefit? Are there any things that parents might be looking at?
Yeah, well, I mean, this is a really interesting question. And we're actually working with a couple of people at the moment who are doing academic research purely on, it's largely perinatal, so before you've had baby, and postnatal health, how that can be improved by mothers, or those who identify as mothers, going outside into nature. But of course, we've got, much research on the individual modalities that are within tree babies sessions. So forest bathing, as you know, such a huge body of research there, supporting what we know to be true, how we feel when we go out in nature, but there's lots of science there. Breath work, again, a whole body of research. Mindfulness, all of these different modalities are really brought together into tree babies. But it would be, a dream of mine to be able to directly be able to say, that this is how it affects babies. What we can, sort of surmise is that babies' senses are very, they're uncurling in the first year of life. And what we're seeing a lot in baby spaces is overstimulation. So there's lots of classes where there's lots of props and flashing lights, and babies are in the dark, and there's glow sticks and space blankets and music and all of these different things. And what is a possible danger here is that we're playing into the, overstimulated culture that we're in as adults, where in every moment, we're looking for the next hit, we're looking for the next piece of entertainment, the next stimulation of our brain. And quite frankly, we're not spending enough time just doing absolutely nothing and emptying ourselves of all of the stories and thoughts and beliefs and the things that kind of trap us into what we see life as. And so when we go out into nature is perfectly attuned to baby's senses at all times, just as it is to adults. So, the breeze on a baby's face is perfectly stimulating the skin, the sound of the birds, or the wind in the branches or the leaves, the smells in the forest, they're perfectly attuned to our senses, because we are nature. We're not separate. That's the main thing that we've forgotten, is that when we go into nature, we are made of, earth, air, water, fire, all of the elements that we find. And so that is why we go into this beautiful state of remembrance, because we're returning home to ourselves. So this is what we intuitively know and feel. And of course, in the world that we live in, we need evidence, we need proof. We can't just surrender to the magic and mystery and just accept that if it makes you feel good, that might just be enough, it might just be enough to just accept that and enjoy it. We don't always need to know why,
No, absolutely. And I think that's one of the jokes that Gary and I have when we are asked, so why we're not doing it? Why are we not prescribed time in nature? Well, we say we have to do research because the doctors can't prescribe feel better. And it's unfortunate, but that's the case. But I absolutely understand what you're talking about in terms of, when you're in tune with nature, when you're just mindful about natural elements, they can actually don't overstimulate you so much. And I even talked to Gary recently about the cartoons nowadays. They seem to be like maybe 5 times faster than we used to watch as kids. The cartoons that we used to watch, they were so mellow and slow, and there was real story there that you were really following each and every character. Now it's just like images in your face. And I think really kids could benefit from much more natural type of stimulation that you get from getting into nature. And I know we're doing lots of research now focusing on different groups of adults, but hopefully there will be also research into babies and younger adults, and also children of different groups. I know from my own experience, I was pregnant with my son, Danny, when I was still leading forest bathing sessions, and it was beautiful. I think my pregnancy was such a smooth experience, and it really kept me in a good place. And yeah, there are lots of benefits definitely in Japan that I think, I'm not sure if I'll have to check a special name of the research, but there were studies in Japan into prenatal and looking at the NK natural killer cells levels. When women pregnant, we were more going into nature for, you know, boosting their immune system. So there is that, but of course we'll have to replicate it in the UK so that we can see that it works in here as well. So, but there is still research going on, and we are very positive about it. And I think even just saying it helps people, some people, it still can be quite powerful. So just out of curiosity, because I know a bit about that, but I'm sure people would be really, our listeners would be very interested to hear what's actually involved in the Tree Babies sessions. So maybe if you can just describe the experience so that we know what we can be looking forward to.
Sure, of course. So Tree Babies sort of came to me during COVID when I was spending a lot of time outside in nature. I'm very, very, very blessed to live, you know, with nature all around me, and I have a woods that I walk in every day. And during that time in COVID, I just kept getting this like thought, tree babies, you know, what is this? And I was just surrendered to it. And I thought about all of that I had received in nature myself and with my children, who are now young adults, and just how, you know, how peaceful and how much simplicity there was. And so I decided to create Tree Babies to gather outside, because obviously with COVID we couldn't gather inside either, so everybody was outside, and there seemed to be just a much more an openness to accepting that perhaps nature could be the greatest teacher that we have. So I weave together strands of modalities that I've been studying for 20 years. So the importance of baby wearing, all Tree Babies classes are connected with baby wearing, because there you have you know, a beautiful containment of baby, very similar to the womb. So it's again really good for regulating baby's nervous system with movement, sound of the heartbeat, you know, being kept warm, being with skin to skin. Weaved that in with some breathwork training that I had received and practice, mindfulness, forest bathing as well. I took a short course in forest bathing just to understand the main principles, did a lot of reading, and also other things that had just brought me joy over the years, like creating like nature mandalas, and also just the power of community, you know, because the Tree Babies mantra is all about being rather than doing. It's about experience over expectation, and just knowing that all is welcome, and that when parents come to those classes and stand in circle, there's just nothing to do. It's just about being in the moment, and the moment is always now. So on each session, just as nature is always completely changing, evolving, and offering us something new, in each session is the same. So from 1 week as a parent, you'll know if you've had a baby yourself, that, you know, 1 week you can be worrying about you know, how much your baby is sleeping or feeding, or you might have concern about your own parenting, or things that all the emotions that you'll be going through. The next week, or well, the next moment, it can be completely different. And so it kind of reinforces the idea that all is welcome, because all is welcome in nature. You know, like the weather, we run classes all year round because we believe there's no such thing as bad weather, just bad clothing. And so, you know, one time you go to a Tree Babies class, it can be rainy or overcast, and next time you go, it's beautiful sunshine. And in each environment, you'll express a different version of yourself that wants to be seen in that moment. And funnily enough, we've had some of the best classes have been where the weather has been quite bad. Well, bad in inverted commas, been very rainy or wet. Maybe not what we, as humans, we prefer the sunshine, don't we? Mostly. But the weather, the fact that the weather was a bit of a challenge actually brought people together, like huddling under a tarpaulin or sort of just laughing about, how, you make plans, but if nature isn't going to play on that day, you have to adapt and go with it. So it's really, really interesting, again, coming back to that idea that nature is teaching us everything that we need to know in that moment. And we, as humans, we come with these expectations. Like we come to a class and we think, we want it to be like this. And actually, when you just let go and you just allow whatever wants to come, it's such a beautiful gift to everybody in the group.
And it's such a beautiful thing that you said about us as parents learning how to go with the flow, because I remember as a parent, and I was a parent during COVID, there wasn't really much help in terms of I wasn't able to connect with people much or get my family too often to help me. And in terms of going with the flow, I think that was the biggest lesson, because as you said, Gayle, that when you go into nature, you can see, and especially in the UK, it's crazy right now, right? With April showers, one moment you get a shower, and the next moment you get sunshine. You don't know what to wear. But in a way, nature can teach us as parents, especially first-time parents. I think we kind of have expectations maybe from reading something or hearing something that things are going to be a certain way, and when they're not, it can sometimes be stressful for parents. And just remembering or learning actually how to go with the flow, learning from nature, can be so powerful. And I absolutely agree with you on the weather not being the problem, it's the clothing that's the problem. Our mindset as well, because we had the most beautiful sessions in the middle of winters with the frost, with the ice, with the snow, and everyone was just so blessed out because they were not expecting much, but they got so much of it out of it, and it changed their mindset. So it can be very powerful. So thank you for sharing it. It's such a great reminder for all people, I think, of all ages. If you have a baby, take the baby outside. If you don't have a baby, take yourself outside. Take your partner, take your friend, take your family member, whoever. We all can benefit from time outside and learn a lot from nature. So that's a very great reminder. Thank you, Gayle. So to finish off, before we learn a bit more about where we can find more about your events and upcoming projects, I just wanted to ask you, what would be your top 3 tips for new parents in connecting with their children through nature or through other modalities that you mentioned?
So I think right now what's really alive, and I was talking to some other health professionals who are maybe with the NHS at the moment in the UK, there's not as much funding with like the primary care trusts and things for help for supporting parents and babies. But nature is free, and with the cost of living at the moment going up a little bit, you don't need to buy anything. You just need to literally put your head outside the door or out, or in the out the window to take a breath of fresh air. So again, I think the number one thing would be not to overcomplicate things, and to believe that there's something that you are lacking in your life, which means that you're not an amazing parent for your baby, because you're the perfect parent for your baby, because you're learning together, and you don't need to do anything. You just need to be present with your baby. So number one tip would be to just be more present. So whether that's through touch, through something like baby massage, or with baby yoga, which is kind of playful movements with songs, or whether it's going outside in nature, it's just really being present in the moment. That is where all the magic lies, in just being present now. So that would be number one. Number 2 would be just to be really super kind with yourself, with the process of evolution in parenting, and also the journey with your baby. Because one thing that I say to a lot of people is I've got 3 young adults now, 21, 19 and 18. And I'm still a mum of those children every single day. Every single day I'm born a mother of them with, I don't know what the experience is going to bring up because I've never had children of that age before. So once you realize that you're never going to succeed in completing the task of being a parent, it's a never ending journey. You can release yourself from the idea that you need to know how to do it now, or that there's some secret that everybody else knows and you don't, and it just allows you to just be in that moment with what is, and just know it's okay to not know, but I'm going to allow myself to just feel what is here now. So that would be number 2. And number 3 is just really, I suppose, understanding that babies are actually, I think, our biggest teachers. So when we don't see our babies as something separate from ourselves, again, we have this idea that babies act in a certain way, adults act in a certain way, but babies have all of the same emotions and feelings as we do, because we're all energetic beings. We're all 100% love. We're all one unity consciousness. So babies are very, very aware of energy. They might not be able to, actively have the cognition or intellectual understanding or even control over their bodies, but they're completely available to sense energy. And so when we just remember that, and we really honor babies' needs and let them be seen, heard, that they belong and they're accepted, and we treat them as sovereign beings, and instead of trying to mold them into fitting into our schedules or doing things that work with our lifestyle, once we start to really understand that they have as big a heart, they have bigger hearts than us because their hearts are open. And unfortunately, as adults, with different things that we go through, sometimes our hearts can close. So do you want to learn from a teacher who's got the biggest heart open, who's completely in trust, surrender, love and compassion? I think babies are the teachers, not the adults. So if you can allow your baby to teach you about patience and surrender and openness, communication, babies don't tone down what they need. They say what they need. They're very honest. Babies are not manipulating us, they're just open. So that would be my 3. Maybe not practical tips, because to be honest, the practical tips, I don't know, it depends. There's so many things you can do, but I think it's really about how to be.
Absolutely. And I think if you know how to be and you keep to this 3, and this 3 as you can correct me if I was wrong, but I wrote down being present, releasing the idea of perfection, and being kind, and seeing babies as sovereign beings and as teachers. So these 3 ideas, I think if we just hold on to that, other things can just flow naturally, because I don't think that if you're gonna follow your baby's lead, you will, lose yourself. I think you even did a post or maybe a reel recently about that, because you just do the things together. You're mindful together, you're present together, you're learning from each other, and you don't have to be imposing. Of course, you will be keeping them safe and, clothing them and taking care of them, feeding them. But at the same time, you don't have to impose this I'm wiser, I'm bigger kind of authority over them. You can still see them as beautiful creatures, as they are sovereign creatures that can teach you a lot of things. Like I would go and learn from you, and you might go and learn from me. That's the same between us adults. So I think that's such a beautiful reminder. And I think I've learned the most from my son, because they do teach us in a very different way that we would normally learn, and there is no way out. You have to learn as a parent, because you're with them. It's not like you can just escape, okay, I'm done with it. You have to come close with it, and you have to look at yourself. And sometimes I think Gosh, I do apologize, because I say to Danny, I'm sorry because I was wrong here, and you were shouting at me, and you were actually right to be angry because that wasn't your fault in here, and I acted in a way that I didn't even think. And as you said, Gayle, they have much more open awareness and open heart, and quite often due to social and cultural behaviors. And I, coming from Russia, for example, I took time to adjust to the culture in this country, because lots of things that were normal for me were very much no in this culture. So same with babies, they come here and they kind of open-hearted and everything goes, and suddenly you say like, stop, this is not acceptable, we don't act like this in this society or this setting, and they're like, why not? It's just like, I'm having fun. So I think it's good to just be able to see their perspective and maybe learn, and we can definitely learn to maybe ease off the pressure sometimes. And sometimes things are fine if we're not hurting others, if we're not breaking rules. Maybe it's still fine to like play in mud and get all dirty and messy, and no one really cares, do they? So
well, I mean, yeah, and the that's the thing, is like, what would we be doing if we didn't have all of the things that we buy to, I don't know, distract us from what is available to us for free, you know, swimming and, you know, singing and dancing and telling stories, and like you say, playing in the mud, like all of those things, they are readily available. And, you know, if we look at, you know, what I believe is one of the most valuable places to learn is from Indigenous wisdom and from the First Nation cultures, where actually when you look across each one, even though they're in different parts of the world, there are many strands that come together that create what is called the kinship worldwide view, which are all very connected with the same thing, that all humans enjoy certain things. So yeah, like I think it's just that remembrance again, and the simplicity and the slowness. Somewhere along the way, we've made it a little bit complicated for ourselves. So nature is, you know, wild, it's free, it's creative, it's abundant, it's ever changing and evolving, and that's our natural state too.
that's beautiful. Thank you, Gayle, so much. And I'm really looking forward to learning more about your sessions. And I know you've also wrote a few books. So if you might direct us where we can find more information about your events or trainings or anything that you've done, any work, upcoming projects.
Yeah, of course. So you can find out all about all of our training and Tree Babies. You can become a guide with us, Tree Babies Guide, or a wild wellbeing practitioner holding spaces for parents and babies on the website. We have teachers all across the world. You can learn online. We also have monthly supervision, so you're held in community. So you can have a look at that. Recently, we've just done National Nature Babies Day. We launched that for the first time, and we'll be doing that again next year. So on the website, there's lots of free resources where you can find out what you can do with your baby out in nature if you're looking for some guidance. And you can follow us on Instagram at Blossom and Berry Baby Massage, and you can sign up. Again, we've got a Wild Wellbeing Week, which is free on the website, and also what we call our Tree Babies Immersion. So if you are listening to this and you're really called towards it, you can get the free training there as well. So yeah.
Beautiful, Gayle. Thank you so much. It was such an honor to have you on the podcast. I'll be signing off until next time.
Thank you.